Welcome into We Know Ball. I'm Connor Fuchsa.
And I'm Melissa Brandon.
Now, currently, we're missing our third anchor. Mason is running a little bit late. It's Parents Weekend here in Stillwater for Oklahoma State, so parking is crazy. So he could not find a spot. So he'll be here later in the show, but for now, it'll just be us two.
We got this. Yep. We got some chemistry. We can handle this.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm kidding. But let's move in to where we always start. Thursday Night Football. Now, we've had some really bad Thursday Night Football games to start this year. Last night, we get an absolute banger. We get an overtime game, a division matchup. We've got Kirko Chains throwing for 500 yards. So let's start there. Kirk Cousins. We've been questioning him all year so far. He's been a little shaky. His Achilles has been shaky. Last night, all doubts are out the window. What did you think of his performance?
Just like you said, Kirk Cousins is back. And he looks like the Kirk Cousins that was saying you like that on the old Commanders team. And he had an absolute huge night. Honestly, there's no question to me about his Achilles injury anymore. And honestly, we all should have expected that that's just going to take a little bit to get used to. But he's settling into that offense. He's making Drake London look amazing. He's getting the ball to Kyle Pitts and Ray McLeod. And Darnell Mooney. He is making that offense look amazing. And 500 yards is insane. Literally insane.
Yeah, and honestly, obviously 500 yards is not going to be an every week thing, but I kind of see this type of offense being what they do moving forward. This is,
for sure.
For people who don't know, Raheem Morris is now the coach over there in Atlanta. He was the offense coordinator last year for the Rams. They just love to sling it. They had Stafford throwing to Kupp and to Nakua every single play. They don't run the ball a ton there. And that's kind of what I see here. So for Bijan owners or Bijan fans, might be a little shaky moving forward for him in fantasy football because I just see Kirk Cousins throwing the ball every single game.
Yeah, and this is all the Falcons needed was a good coordinator to open up the pass game for them, open up the run game. And Kirk Cousins is that perfect guy that you can slide in, has so many years of experience that you can fit him into whatever offense they have. So perfect opportunity for Raheem Morris, getting Arthur Smith out the door. It's all working out, I think.
Yeah. Now, talking about Falcons first, let's move over to the other side of the ball. Honestly, all week going into preparation for the show, I thought we were going to start off talking about the Bucs offense because of how electric it's been. And honestly, how electric it still looked last night. Yeah. You've got Baker, you've got Godwin, you've got Evans. Both running backs have been performing well with White and then now Bucky Irving stepping up.
Yeah.
And so honestly, 90% of the game, I thought this is where we were going to start. And then those last two drives, Kirk Cousins takes over, so we have to start with him. But now let's go into the Bucs. Now, week one, you called this. You predicted this. You said the Bucs offense was top 10, maybe going to be top 5.
Guys, I finally got something right. I feel happy right now. Don't flame me in the comments, please.
So I'm going to let you elaborate a little bit. About this Bucs offense, last night, just this season, what do you like so far?
What I like so far is just purely, honestly, Baker Mayfield. I saw a couple clips from last night of insanely tight window throws that Baker Mayfield is executing every single time. And he has Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who obviously are such experienced veterans, but they were waiting on Baker Mayfield to kind of get on the same level as them. And now he's on that same level. He's finally gotten to a consistent place. And then they have those two young running backs, like you said. But I think he's just taken a huge leap. He had a great year last year, but even to this year, he just looks completely established there. So huge props to him. I think that's what makes this offense great.
Yeah, and I think if I got anything out of last night from Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield, these are the type of quarterbacks offenses want to play for. They are not afraid, especially Baker last night. I did not know he had this rushing ability. I haven't seen it since OU.
Right.
He's going out there and just throwing his body on the line like it doesn't matter. He took that late hit on the sideline. He put his shoulder into a defender to try and get a first down and a big second down in the second half. And then just in general was running and scrambling, taking hits. He had his knee and leg hit up on one of those plays in the red zone. Went to the sideline limping. Couldn't even tell the next drive anything on him. He is so tough. And that's the type of leader you want on your team.
Exactly. And honestly, Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield are a little bit similar in that they're going to be those vocal leaders. They're going to be those guys that the wide receivers want to go to bat for. They want to sacrifice their body for. So that says a lot about what makes offenses work.
Yeah. Now, talking about the actual result of this game. Obviously, goes to overtime. Falcons win. A lot of idea going into this game, a lot of media talking about this game was maybe the winner of this game gives us a preview of who we're going to see win the NFC South. Do you think you got that, or do you think because it went to overtime, we're still left completely confused?
It's hard because I'm still such a big fan of both of these teams, and I've had takes about both of them. Honestly, I think that Bucs will, next time they face each other, Bucs will take the next game, and it could be Right now, I would say I think Falcons are going to take the division just because I feel like they have a little bit more stability and a better defense than the Buccaneers do. But I still see 100% the Buccaneers making the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I got anything out of last night, it's the fact that both of these teams
They're both going to make it.
They're both going to make it. I initially, at the beginning of the season, picked Atlanta to make the playoffs. However, last night I thought the Bucs were going to win. So I still can't figure out which of the two I want to win the division.
Yeah.
But I know they're both definitely making the playoffs.
Right.
But now we bring up divisions. This was an interesting thought I had this past week, and so I wanted to implement it and talk about it on this show, about what is the best division in football. So, I mean, right now with the NFC South, we've got a division we thought was terrible a couple years ago.
Right.
We've got two locked-in playoff teams, Bucs, Falcons. The Saints, obviously, you're not the biggest fan of, but they look great to start the year.
They're still a good team.
So the NFC South is up there in contention for the best division in football. So I just want to know, what do you think the best division in football is?
So I think, for me, this is kind of crazy because I feel like almost every division in the NFL this year has been flipped on its head.
Yes.
And the NFC East, where the Cowboys are, used to be one of the, I mean, it's been debated as one of a good division in the NFL, and it is not this year. For me, last year, it was the NFC West. I was 100% on the NFC West. They've been a huge division. The 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, just high-powered offense. But this year, not looking exactly the same. The Rams are struggling. The Seahawks are leading. The Niners are struggling with injuries. So for me this year, and I never would have said this last year, it's the NFC North. And right now we have the Vikings sitting at 4-0, which no one expected. And a lot of people thought the Packers could be leading this division along with the Lions. Probably the Packers are actually at the bottom of this division, but they're still a really good team. So I just think from top to bottom, you have the Bears in there too with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, like really good potential on offense. They're 2-2 right now too. So all four of those teams are great teams to me.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to agree with you. Out of the 8 divisions, I got the NFC North as the best right now. The Vikings looking like Super Bowl contenders. We know the Packers are going to step it up. They're somehow 0-2 in Jordan Love games, 2-0 in Malik Willis games.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense, but those losses are to the Eagles and to the Vikings. So there's some tough teams. I think Packers are going to step it up. We know the Lions might win the division, or at least they're going to be a playoff team. I see, honestly, I predicted at the beginning of the season 3 playoff teams coming out of this division. Or I predicted 2, sorry. I didn't know the Vikings were going to make it. Now I think 3 are going to make it. And so it's like the NFC North and the NFC South are almost running the NFC now.
Exactly.
And the East and West have taken a step back.
I think it's crazy we're even talking about the NFC too, because it's been so long that AFC is like championed as the best up-and-coming conference in the NFL. And they have great teams, but there's more competition in the NFC now. Yeah.
Like I've actually got the records of all the teams combined for the divisions right now. NFC North have the best combined record at 11-5. Technically speaking, which is weird to think about, the second best and the only other division with a winning record right now is the AFC West, which is a division we see as a terrible division with the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers.
Yeah.
However, I'm not putting them in contention. You can't be in contention for the best division in football and have Gardner Minshew and Bo Nix as 2 of your 4 starters.
The Chiefs are carrying that record with their 4-0.
But every other team's 2-2. That's the weird part. There's no losing records right now in the AFC West, which is weird. But I think the craziest thing, last division I want to hit on, the AFC North has been seen as this powerhouse for years and years and years. If you asked anyone the last 4 or 5 years, what's the best division in football, everyone always says the AFC North. Now, I agree with you. I thought it was the NFC West last year.
Yeah.
But consensus
No, they
they
would be my second last year for sure.
But now we've got Browns falling off drastically.
Yeah.
The Bengals are a 1-win team with their only win over the Panthers. The Steelers are actually leading this division right now, but honestly, I don't really trust in them. And the Ravens are 2-2.
Yeah, I think the huge factor in that division is the Cincinnati Bengals. The fact that they have just completely laid an egg, having that many weapons on offense. If you told me they only had 1 win in the first 4 games, I would have thought you were joking, because it just doesn't make sense. And they've held so much power in this division, and now their tides have turned, and somehow, some way, the Steelers are leading now.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't trust them either. I think, honestly, they could take a step back and take a couple losses, especially in their division. And then that division could be super topsy-turvy.
Yeah, but now we talk about the Steelers maybe being frauds. We're actually going to get into that after the commercial break. We're going to go into a confidence meter for the 4-0 and 3-1 teams, talk about another shaky team, and Mason will be joining us. We'll be right back after this.
Computer issue? Meet AB Computers, Stillwater's trusted experts in computer repairs. We understand how important your devices are to you. That's why we offer fast turnaround times, so you're never disconnected for long.
Hello, my name is Roger Smith. I'm the owner of AB Computers here in Stillwater. I offer excellent services for repairs, upgrades, custom build of systems. I do Mac and PC repair. I've got best prices on pretty much everything you can look for.
We service all types of computers, from PCs and gaming rigs to tablets and everything in between. Whatever your tech needs, AB Computers is your one-stop solution. Whether it's a locked screen, a sluggish system, or any other tech trouble, AB Computers has you covered. Visit us at 211 North Perkins Road, Suite number 10, right next to Walmart. Our new location offers easy access and plenty of parking, making it more convenient than ever to get the expert help you need.
Ace in the Bowl salsa started many, many years ago. I was trying to find a recipe to take to a family gathering, and so I started messing around with different recipes, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and I came up with a salsa that is truly unique. Ace in the Bowl salsa is an olive oil-based salsa with tomatoes, green chilies, green onions, and black olives. There's no sugar added, it's gluten-free, low-calorie, low-carb, low-fat, low sodium. So it's a very, very, very good alternative to any snack you may want. As of right now, I'm just looking to be in Oklahoma and having a successful business within the state. If my grandkids could ever take it over when they're old enough, that would be my dream.
Welcome back into We Know Ball. Now we finally got Mason joining us.
Thank you.
But now I said we're going to get into a confidence meter. Before that, we're going to talk about a specific team that's going to be on that confidence meter. That's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
All the talk off season and then just to begin the season is Chiefs three-peat, Chiefs three-peat. Can they do it? Can they not do it? They started off 4-0. They're one of the only two teams in the NFL to be 4-0. But now they just lost Rashee Rice, already without Hollywood Brown, and Pacheco is also on IR. What are y'all's thoughts on these? The Chiefs three-peat still a possibility, or are we throwing that out the window?
Yeah. You want to take this, Mason?
You got it.
Okay. Well, I have to stand strong because this is my Super Bowl pick. And I'm not just standing strong because of that. I firmly believe that this is a very similar season to last season for the Chiefs. Last year, they didn't have a lot of really great weapons on offense like we're used to seeing the Tyreek Hills running around and the amazing yards from Travis Kelce. It was a little bit of rough around the edges, Patrick Mahomes making young wide receivers look good. And this to me is the exact same. Now, that's not to say I'm not a tiny bit worried, but because you mentioned those injuries, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown. Isaiah Pacheco and Hollywood Brown possibly are both going to be back by the time they make a playoff run.
Yeah.
So to me, they're going to have a good enough record and they're going to be 2 times better by the time they get to playoffs because they have those players coming back. So I still think they're going to make a Super Bowl run, and I still think they will be in the Super Bowl.
Okay, I just want to take into effect that she's a Taylor Swift fan, so anything that
does
she really says about the Chiefs is just out the window.
Doesn't have to do with that.
Anyways, Mahomes is playing one of his worst 4-game starts of his career.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
That is bad. So once you look at the stats, you look at how you watch them. You watch them play, especially against the Chargers, where Mahomes took out his wide receiver 1.
He didn't mean to.
He didn't even know he did it, but he did.
Where that team is just, it's lost something. It's lost something for sure.
They've lost their, like, sparkle.
Yeah, I know Travis Kelce had finally a good game last week, but again, that was without Rashee Rice and half of their team. So they lost the sparkle. I just don't think that they definitely will make the playoffs for sure, especially in the AFC West. Yeah. But I don't see them going to the Super Bowl at all.
Yeah, honestly, this injury to Rice, I'm out. I'm out on the Chiefs right now. I still think they make the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I'm going to say this right now, and this is probably a little bit of a hot take. Maybe I could have saved this for a hot take. I think losing Rice is more detrimental to this offense than losing Kelce, if they lost Kelce this year.
No, I
Rice
agree.
At this point has solidified himself as the number 1 option on that team. And so, yes, last year, was it a lot of question marks? Oh, the Chiefs don't have options, and then a rookie Rashee Rice stepped up. Yes, that is very much true. That is kind of similar to last year. But Xavier Worthy is no Rashee Rice. They've got no one on this current roster.
I beg to differ, honestly.
There's no one on this current roster, I think, that is going to fill that Rashee Rice role.
I think Xavier Worthy could fill that role. And also, we need to take a look at the fact that there's so many wide receivers right now that are on the trade market.
Yes.
And the Chiefs have never shied away from making moves midseason.
See, that is the only way I'm still in on them. If they someone make a move for a Cooper, a Devontae Adams, or even like a lesser name guy to bring in there and have help, then yes. But the problem is, Worthy, what I'm saying by Worthy, I mean, I'm a Worthy hater, yes. But Worthy is no Rice in the sense of Rice is a PPR guy. He's a big reception guy. He's going to move the chains. He's going to consistently be in the slot, do crossing routes, do digs. Worthy's not that. He's a gadget player. He's going to be the deep shot guy. He's going to be the long crossers. He's going to be the jet sweeps. He's not a guy that's going to be able to step up in Rice's place. Mahomes needs a guy currently he can hit on first, second, third, fourth down.
Well,
Juju.
Not Juju. He needs a guy he can hit on first through fourth down. Worthy is a big play guy. He's going to still maybe get his 3 for 47 and a touchdown. He's going to maybe get some games where he goes 4 for 120 and a touchdown. But he's not going to be that consistent guy in the offense that Mahomes needs, especially without Pacheco right now.
Well, maybe now that Travis Kelce has kind of taken a step back in the first 4 weeks, now that there's that injury, maybe he steps up again and becomes that guy that we know that he has been with Patrick Mahomes, that reliable guy on third down that gets the big plays for him. So
yeah.
I'm not going to count him out yet. We'll see how it goes midway through the season, but I still am a believer.
Yeah. But now, mentioning Patrick Mahomes, you mentioned it already that Mahomes has had a honestly horrific start to the year, especially for Mahomes standards. So I wanted to play a little game. I did this last year on the fantasy show, and so I wanted to bring it back this year. I sent you all the graphic already. I'm put it up on the screen. There is 3 blind ranking players, player A, player B, player C. One of these guys is Patrick Mahomes. One of these guys is Deshaun Watson, and one of these guys is Geno Smith.
Wow.
Can you figure out which one is even Mahomes?
Well, I can tell you which one's not Mahomes.
Which one?
Player C.
Yeah.
Definitely Geno Smith.
Yeah, no, that is Geno Smith
Geno
on
Smith.
the left. On
so
the far
it's
right.
in between player A and player B. So if I were to go in this without how we had been talking about Patrick Mahomes, I would have said, okay, I think it's player A.
Yeah.
But because of how much we've discussed how much he has struggled, I'm going to go with that it's player B. And he actually has the least yards amount of these 3, which would actually be crazy.
Yeah.
I know it is player A. I didn't throw that in
It
front of
is
this
player
list.
A. Okay,
So
okay.
while he does have more yards than Deshaun Watson, he has the most interceptions of these guys, which I think is very, very like a big red flag for me right here.
Yeah.
Mahomes is a guy that, as much as go off all the glazing, all the commentators go, he's not a guy that turns the ball over much. He's not a guy that really he plays smart, he plays the right way, and he is just consistent. Having 5 interceptions through 4 weeks right now that's what is concerning for me with Mahomes. It's not an offensive issue right now. It's not a talent issue. He's just turning over the ball. He's being sloppy. That's the problem right now with this offense. And so obviously we know he'll bounce back, but just showing these stats, it's a little concerning to see even in comparison right now, and having a worse season than Geno Smith and in the same realm as a Deshaun Watson that people are saying is bottom 5.
Yeah. I think that shows just like a lack of like comfortable him. He's not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
He's really having to force things because he doesn't have those reliable guys. I mean, he still has Travis Kelce, but they're having some connection issues, it appears. But he's just not comfortable, and he's having to try and he's always created his own plays, but there's a certain ceiling that takes you to. And I mean, he's facing tough opponents this year too, so
Yeah. And if teams have already, they talked about it, Mahomes has come out about it. If teams are already taking Kelce out of games when Rice was on the field, it's going to be even more concerning when they can just put 2 guys on Kelce and say, who's going to catch the ball, Worthy or Juju?
Yeah.
And there's already no run game now because there's no Pacheco. I think things could get very ugly very quick for the Chiefs if they do not enter the trade market. So, but now speaking of the Chiefs, let's roll into our next segment. It's the confidence meter. Now, last week, we did a worry meter for all the teams that had a losing record. This week, we're going to do the same thing for the teams with a winning record, but it's the confidence meter. So 10 being you're really confident in a team, 1 being you're not confident in a team. Yeah. And we're going to start off with the Chiefs, since we've already been talking about them. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are y'all in the Chiefs?
All right. Like we've already said, I still have some confidence in them, but I'm not at the 10 level that I see them 100% knocking out everyone. Yeah. So I have them at an 8 right now.
Okay. Mason?
I have them at a 5.
Wow.
Because I don't like them, but I know the magic that they can pull off, especially with the regular season. especially with the regular season wins. So I'm going to put them at a 5.
I actually agree. I've got them right at a 5. As much as I have been dogging on them right now, I mean, it still is Kelsey. It still is Mahomes. It still is Andy Reid. And especially Andy Reid. I think that's a very underrated part of this team. He's not going to let this team not make the playoffs. He's not going to let this team probably not even get a playoff win.
He's definitely a Hall of Fame coach.
Exactly. So with that, I got a 5. So we average out to a 6 there, but there's definitely better options out there, like this next team. The other 4-0 team, we mentioned them earlier, the Minnesota Vikings. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you in this Minnesota Vikings team?
I have them at a solid 7. And I feel like a lot of people would have them higher than that. And my reasoning is just because I don't see this being sustainable with Sam Darnold. I think he's a great quarterback and he's shown that he can lead a team. But I just don't have the faith yet that he can sustain that through 18 games, especially in the toughest division, like we said, and he has all those matchups coming up. So,
yeah, I'm agree with that reasoning. I just went with a 6. It's just I get why people are on them.
4-0 looks really good. But
Yeah, it's Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
We've seen Sam Darnold. We've seen what he's like. I know he's got finally good weapons around him, but I just think that he is the odd one out on that team.
Yeah. See, I've got them at a 9. So I've got them higher, and I almost put them at a 10. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
First and foremost, take out the offensive standpoint. This defense with Brian Flores is looking like a top 3, maybe top 1 defense.
Yeah,
in
they're
the
like
league right
second
now.
rushing defense right now. So
Yeah, and they've got the most sacks. They're forcing turnover. Like, this defense is elite. Now, on top of that, you go to the other side of the ball. You've got Justin Jefferson. You've got Jordan Addison. You've got Aaron Jones already outside of Sam Darnold. And everyone has seemingly forgot TJ Hawkinson's coming off IR in the next couple weeks as well.
Right.
So they're about to already have Jefferson, Addison, and Jones. And then you're going to add in TJ Hawkinson there. I think Sam Darnold may fall off a little bit, but I don't think we're asking Sam Darnold to win playoff games. I don't think we're asking him to be Josh Allen. I don't think we're asking him to be Joe Burrow. We're asking him to be Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy just made a Super Bowl because he's a game
System
manager.
QB.
Exactly. So as much as Darnold's look great, I think he will regress a little bit. That's the only reason it's not a 10. But I think all you need out of Darnold to be a team that makes the NFC Championship or a Super Bowl is him just to be Brock Purdy. You just need him to manage the game, get the ball to your guys, Jones, Addison, Jefferson, Hawkinson, and let the defense suffocate teams.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. And I see that. I can see that happening. I just don't I haven't seen it yet from the Vikings. And we've seen them in years past. I think there was either last year or the year before they also started out like 3-0.
Yeah.
And then they completely fell off. And so just specifically because it's this Vikings team, although I'm a huge Kevin O'Connell fan. I think he's a great coach, and honestly, right now should be the candidate for Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I'm back and forth, but they've previously fallen off in the latter part of the season. So.
Also, last thing I want to say about them real quick. The reason I am so confident, this isn't some 4-0 team like the Chiefs or some of these other teams that start off hot. They beat the Texans, the Niners, and now the Packers.
True.
Those are 3 teams that 2 of those teams were in my Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah.
So this is a team that's already beaten elite teams, not just 4-0. They're 4-0 against good competition.
Yeah.
But
fair point.
we got to move on. Now we're going to get to all the 3-1 teams. Now there's 7 of those 3-1 teams. We're going to start it off with the Buffalo Bills. Start off 3-0, start off really hot. Lost really badly to the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Where do y'all have them at now?
I have them at an 8. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't count that loss as much is because I'm also high on the Ravens, and I think the Ravens are a good team this year, and they played with the Ravens. And so to me, I think Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We all know that. And he's making his wide receivers look great. And James Cook is completely dominating that run game for them. So I'm not really worried, honestly. I'm at an 8.
Man, it's like we wrote the same thing. I have them at an 8 too.
We didn't share notes, guys, I promise.
I have them at an 8 because this team, okay, they lost bad against the Ravens, but you look at their other past games, especially that win, and you look at it and you just say, hey, this is a team that can definitely stand out in the AFC, especially right now, especially with the Chiefs down.
It's
especially,
wide open.
Yeah, the Ravens, they beat them, but they're 2-2.
Yeah.
So they stand out as an AFC contender alone because of these 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It's because Josh Allen is playing the way he's playing right now.
Yeah.
Because of Shakir and everybody stepping up after Diggs left. This is a special team for sure, and I can definitely see them making the AFC Championship, but hopefully not with the Chiefs there.
Yeah, so I agree with what y'all are saying completely, and that's why I've got them at a 9. So I'm on the same page of Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football right now.
Yeah.
Mahomes, obviously, we can't count him out. But Mahomes right now is not playing like a top 10 even quarterback right now. So Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And yes, did they have a bad loss to the Ravens? Yes. Honestly, I've been a Ravens hater. They've made me a believer now.
Yeah.
This is a good Ravens team that I think that's not that bad of a loss to the Bills. And we got to remember just the 2 weeks before that absolutely destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exactly.
And the week before that was absolutely destroying Miami. Even before the 2 injury, they were already up like 28.
Yeah.
So this is a very dominant Bills team. And like you said, AFC's wide open. Bengals, who we thought would be a contender, not. Chiefs, I don't think are a contender anymore. It is really right now the Bills and Ravens conference.
And Miami's completely fallen out of the race
Yes.
too, and that's in their division. So that's another wide open lane for them.
Hey, I don't know. Patriots are sneaking up there.
I forgot about the Texans, though. Texans are also up there. But yes.
Yeah.
Now let's move over to a team we kind of mentioned earlier that could be a little shaky. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Where do y'all got them at?
4.
I have a
I have
2.
them at a 4.
I have 3. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're glad we're on the
Consensus,
same
not
page
like-
here.
It's just that offense.
Yeah.
Scares me.
That's
so
literally what
bad.
I've written down. I have offense not good, defense elite. That's,
Yeah.
that's what I've got written down.
That
for notes
offense
for them.
scares
And
me
your
so
defense,
much.
TJ Watt can only bail you out so many times. He can't have 4 sack games every single game.
Yeah.
And we saw that last game. They lost. Who did they lose to last week?
Pittsburgh? Colts.
They
Joe
took a
Flacco.
loss to the
Joe
Colts.
Flacco.
Yeah, they
Flacco,
took a
yeah.
loss to the Joe Flacco Colts. And to me, that's a concern.
Yes. No, honestly, it's just really, the offense isn't great. I mean, Najee and Warren haven't looked amazing. There's really no weapons on that offense outside of Pickens.
Yeah.
And I don't really trust Justin Fields that much. Justin Fields has looked good, but not anything crazy.
Yeah.
And I do think the defense is elite. I mean, you've got TJ Watt, and I think we are forgetting the added Patrick Queen in the offseason. He is elite. And honestly, even so, the secondary is pretty good. So it's a really great defense. The defense can only get you so far. They haven't had to. Obviously, we talked bad about the AFC North, but they still have to face the Ravens twice. Still have to face the Bengals once the Bengals hopefully get hot twice. It's not a conference you want to be in and get complacent in. And I feel like this team is at their peak right now, and they're about to just slowly fall off.
Yep, 100%. I think they're honestly the exact same team too. If even Russell Wilson gets in there,
Yeah.
they're at the exact same level if that happens to me. So that doesn't bring any upside to me.
Same. But now let's move on to the next team. We're going from the Steelers on low to a team I have really high up ranked, Houston Texans. So they've had a couple shaky weeks past 2 weeks. They played a close game against Jacksonville. They had the loss 2 weeks ago. But what do we think about the Houston Texans right now? Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm honestly at like a 6. I'm sort of a little bit worried just because I feel like CJ Stroud hasn't looked like the same CJ Stroud in these 4 games as he did the entire last season. And I don't know what the issues are because of that, if it's just adjusting to kind of a different offense, different running backs, different wide receivers. But to me, they look a little bit out of sync. So I think I'm not that worried though, because I think they'll hit their stride and they'll improve and they'll be that playoff team at the end of the season. But I'm a tiny bit worried right now.
Okay, so this is where we differ. I have the Texans at a 9.
Okay, cool.
I can see why you're a little iffy about them, but I just think it's that offensive line,
Yeah.
especially Laramie Tunsil. He's had 3 games with, I think 2+ or 3+ false starts.
Yeah. Which is not like him at all. Like he's
No,
going to
it's
get that
not like
together.
him.
Yeah.
It's driving this offense back, and I think that's what's really like making them struggle because they're like off their game during drives. But they still have Nico Collins, who I said was going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
They still have C.J. Stroud. I know he doesn't look like his past self, but he's still C.J. Stroud. And then they also have
They got
what's
Diggs.
his
Dell,
face?
They got Dell.
Diggs.
They got
Dell.
Mixon. They got Schultz.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
got
And
Tunsil.
Well,
Mixon's
Mixon's out. But
He could be coming back this week,
He's,
yeah.
He's supposed to actually right now he's questionable, so I feel like he could be back either this week or next week. So,
yeah. The defense is also serviceable.
Yeah.
Like, it's
DeMeco
not the
Ryans'
greatest,
defense
but
is elite. Like
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm actually I'm more with you on this one than you. I've got an 8, so I'm like pretty in between y'all, but closer on your side. They have looked a little shaky, but that has also been with Joe Mixon out, adjusting to all the new pieces in the offense, and Tank Dell's been out. You get Tank Dell back in this offense, you get Mixon back in this offense, and honestly, I don't want to be any defense that has to face up against those guys. So for that reason, I got him an 8. Now let's move forward. We got 4 more left. Let's try to speed up a little bit. The Washington Commanders, though. This is an interesting team. 3-1, leading the NFC East right now. Do y'all believe in them, or is this they're about to hit a wall?
Yeah, I think they're going to win the division.
Oh, I thought you were going to say hit a wall. Sorry, I thought you were going somewhere else. Yes.
they're winning the division. And I'll tell you why. Cowboys, they're falling off, especially after that game against the Giants. I know you guys are so sad about that, but no. Especially after that, watching that game against the Giants. That was a horrid game.
Yeah.
And then you have the Giants.
Yeah.
They have the Giants.
Yeah.
You have the Eagles, though. The Eagles are a weird team because they look good, but they also look bad.
Yeah.
I don't think they look good at all. TBH.
Well,
we're very okay. I was about to say I think the Eagles are going to win the division.
Really?
I mean, they've been without A.J. Brown. They've been without Devontae Smith.
But even with those, when they had those weapons, the problem is Jalen Hurts turning the ball over. If he can't, he cannot be, those weapons can't shine if he can't be a good quarterback for them. So to me, they're on the same playing field, I think, as us, Dallas. And sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
I think I'm at like a 9 for the Commanders, and that pains me to say. It pains me. But I think that this division is just so bad that they are just going to take over, and Jaden Daniels is in the exact perfect position to develop and grow because the competition is not looking stiff right now in that division.
I feel like Dan Quinn has unlocked something inside of Jaden Daniels where he looks like prime RG3 on the Redskins.
I'm very different than y'all. I've got them all the way down to 4.
Okay.
I am not buying into this Commanders hype train yet. For first and foremost, before we even get into Jaden Daniels, they have by far the worst secondary in all of the NFL.
That is true, yeah.
Absolutely horrific secondary. Like, they couldn't stop the Bengals for in a single drive. Like, there was no punts in that game. We know that. The offense obviously is looking great right now, but the defense is horrific.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I just think, I'm not saying Daniels will get figured out and he'll be a bad this first 4 weeks are not sustainable. He's a great rushing quarterback, and I'll give him his credit. He still is a really good passing quarterback for the rushing quarterbacks. Like, I'm not saying he's like a Lamar or like a Murray.
He went like
better
18
with
for
legs.
18 or something 2 weeks ago. So
he wasn't perfect, but he did he was almost perfect. Like he has the highest completion percentage for any player in the first 4 games of their career, which is why I think this is unsustainable. That's not a level of production you're going to get out of Daniels all year.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to have to take a step back. I think Cowboys may step up a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit of the Cowboys lover in me. But I think this is the Eagles division. I know that's very, very controversial, I guess, at this table. But once they get A.J. Brown back, once they get Devontae Smith back, the 1 week of the entire season where they've had all of their stars, they beat the Green Bay Packers. That's a good football team. In the first week of the season, they beat them. They haven't had A.J. Brown since week 2. They haven't had Devontae Smith last week. I think, especially now with how we've seen the Hurts and Goddard connection get better, I think this offense is elite, and we've seen this defense stepping up big against teams like the Saints and other teams where they're holding teams under 20. So I really am a big believer in the Eagles this year. That might be controversial. Maybe that's another hot take.
I am not. I feel like that is a hot take. I'm not a believer. I think the Eagles are on the downtrend and are continuing to fall apart where they started to fall apart at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And I've seen no signs of life other than that Saquon Barkley can run the ball, which we all already knew.
Yeah.
And so I just don't. I think Jalen Hurts is really struggling with that offense, and Nick Stefanski is not. They don't have good chemistry. There seems to just be confusion on the offense, and to me, I don't see them getting it done. Honestly, they've had horrible history against the Cowboys, so when they have those matchups, sure they can beat the Giants and maybe they'll beat the Commanders. They'll split 1-1, but they've never played well against. That's not true always, but
like I say, we usually I feel like split with them.
Yeah, we split with them, but that's always a tough matchup. So I just don't see them making any moves in this division with it being so.
Who's we? You on the team?
No, but I don't know. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one because I'm not buying into the Commanders hype train, and I'm very much thinking the Eagles could win this division. But now let's move on. We got 3 more to hit. Let's go to an easier one for us all to agree on to get us back on the same page. The Detroit Lions.
10.
You got 10? Where you at?
I got a 10 too.
I'm at 9. So I'm 1 off. The only slight one thing I knocked off them was their defense and that secondary. Same thing with the Commanders, my big knock. I'm a big guy, and your secondary has to be good to be able to play in the playoffs. Right now, maybe the run games are doing better than the passing games in the NFL right now. Come playoff times, it's when those quarterbacks step up, and it's when quarterbacks have to take over those games. So I care more about your secondary than your run defense, in my opinion. And their secondary did not look great. They just let Geno Smith almost throw for 400 yards on them.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm a little worried about. But other than that, they got Sam Brown. They got Laporta. They got the best running back duo in football. And then Goff just went 18 for 18 and got a receiving touchdown. I am a 9.
I think that Seahawks game, you can't take anything away from the Lions.
Yeah.
Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Yes, he is.
No.
Yes, he is.
I hate
we saw that. We saw that.
Hate is a strong word.
We saw that last year and the year before. He's really not that bad.
Last year he wasn't that good, though. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Next week we need to have a segment on Geno Smith.
Oh, don't worry.
talk
Seahawks
about
are
this
coming up in two teams, so we can get into Smith in a second.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's move on. We got two more to hit. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mason, what's your rating?
I've got an 8. I love what Baker Mayfield is doing with that team. His revitalization of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm similar field. I have them at a 7. The only reason I have them a little lower is just because they're not really finishing games with that Falcons game, and that's my only problem. And the defense doesn't look that elite, but Baker Mayfield is making that offense look great.
Yeah. No, I've got them at 8, so I'm basically in the same area as y'all. We talked about earlier, offense is maybe top 5 in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Defense could be a little shaky, and again, like you said, closing games is a little bit of a worry, but I still got them at 8.
I just keep hearing you always say about these teams, defense are shaky.
I'm saying defense. I mean, Vikings defense is elite. Steelers defense is elite. Chiefs defense is elite.
Well, just the past 4 teams.
Connor, let's get you out there at cornerback and see how
you do.
Okay. Commanders, Lions have both known terrible secondaries.
Yeah.
That's not even up for debate.
No, that's so fair.
Also, Commanders just got 500 yards.
Commanders defense is led by Dan Quinn, and if you're a Cowboys fan, you know what Dan Quinn does to secondaries, and that's all I'm gonna say.
And run games in the playoffs. I'm just saying, yes, that is kind of ironic. It's been 3 in a row, but the Commanders are the worst secondary football. Lions are bottom 5, and the Bucs just got 500 yards thrown on them. So I feel like it's not that hot of a take to say these 3 defensive secondaries have been struggling. But let's get to the final one. The Seattle Seahawks. What do you got, Alyssa?
I have an 8. I think they are a good team. I'm not agreeing
at all this time.
I'm not agreeing with you at all. I think this is finally the year for Geno Smith to go and get a playoff win. I think, honestly, their running game has looked really good with K9, and they also have Zach Charbonnet behind him. Mm-hmm. And then they have really, really good wide receiver core right now with DK Metcalf. JSN is looking really, really good. And then you have the reliable guy in Tyler Lockett that's probably bringing those guys up. Mm-hmm. So, honestly, I can't speak towards their defense that much. I haven't watched it that much, so I need to pay closer attention to that. But I think that they're going to continue to – I'm not saying that they're going to win their division at all, but I think they're going to get a playoff spot.
Yeah, I have them at a 5. I know I was hyping up Geno Smith, but he is good. They have good receivers. They have K9. They have Zach Charbonnet. But I just can't see them finishing games, especially watching that last game.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely got dominated by the Lions and Jared Goff. So I just think once they fix that, once they go over that, they'll definitely be a better team. But right now, after watching that game, I got to drop down on them.
Yeah. Well, then we're all over the place. You were 8, 5. I'm 3. We know this from last week. My hot take was the Seahawks are going to miss the playoffs and the Seahawks are overrated. And I still very much stand by that after seeing this last week. Now, the defense, I'm not going to knock on them much. You said you haven't seen them much. Last week, they had 7 starters out. Okay. Their defense is injured right now. They will probably get back to a better defense. And I've said it at the beginning of the year. I like Mike McDonald as their head coach to get this defense right. It's the offense and the schedule that worries me. I don't trust Geno Smith. And I talked about it last week, but I guess I'll read it off again for why I'm worried about them. They faced Niners twice. They faced the Rams twice at the end of the season, which means they'll be healthy when they see the Rams twice. They've got Falcons. So the next 5 games after the Giants, because I'm not counting the Giants as their next game. Niners, Seahawks. Niners, Falcons, Bills, Rams, Niners are their next 5. Fair. Then they've got Jets, Packers, Vikings, Rams.
Yeah.
They could. I'm not saying they're going to go 0-9. They could go 0-9 realistically in those 9 games. They're probably going to be the underdog in 8 of those games.
Yeah.
So I think my worry more or less isn't with the team's roster right now as a whole. I think it's just being 3-1. They're about to run into a gauntlet with their defense being beat up, Geno Smith being Geno Smith. We can disagree on that. I got him at 3.
Where was Geno Smith's stats on that graphic you had up there?
Yeah, Geno Smith's passing stats are 1,100 yards, almost 1,200, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 72 completion percentage.
Okay, the 4 interceptions could be a little bit concerning if the turnovers start to become a problem for him. I can see that.
Yeah, but the almost 1,200 yards.
He's like 3rd in the league.
Is looking really good.
But that is mainly from this last week when he had 400 yards on the Lions.
And that's going to change based on the opponent you play, like you said. So.
Yeah. Well, we did go a little bit long, so instead of getting into hot takes, we are going to head to commercial break real quick, and we'll get into our hot takes right after the break.
Pecans are staple to Oklahoma. In fact, many of our native pecans come from trees that are older than Oklahoma statehood.
My father's the one that got us started into the pecan picking. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and we started off with one little mechanical picker that you pulled behind a four-wheeler. Then we'd go home at night and we'd clean them on a TV tray. I guess watching my dad work hard when we were young, and people started trusting him and getting more and more groves, we just kept growing.
Being a relatively new and fresh company, we get to sit in the same room with people who have been a part of the Oklahoma economy for decades.
It's opened a lot of doors. It's gave us quite a bit of exposure, and I think people, will take a small company like us a little more serious. We're just going to continue growing as long as our community lets us and our customers keep on buying, and we'll see where it takes us.
Welcome back into We Know Ball. Now, before the commercial break, we're getting a little heated.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick with that theme, and we're going to go to some hot takes.
Yeah.
So, Alyssa, what do you got for your hot take for this week?
All right. So my hot take for this week is kind of not targeted on the on-field play, but it's on the off-field play. My hot take is that Robert Saleh, head coach of the New York Jets, is going to be fired midway through the season. That's going to be there's always a coach that gets fired midway through the season, and this year it's going to be Robert Saleh. He has a 20-35 coaching record from 2021 to 2024. Before that, he was a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, where he made an elite defense on the 49ers. Then he took a head coaching role, and he made a great defense for the Jets. But what has this Jets offense been ever since he's been the coach? I have not seen one slight bit of creativity, motion, movement, utilization of Garrett Wilson. That poor guy needs to get out of there, because listen to this. This is a quote from Garrett Wilson this week. I don't think we do a lot of different stuff, to be honest. I watch football on Sundays, and I see a lot of teams mix it up and stuff like that. I don't think we do that. That's concerning.
Yeah.
That's really concerning if your number one wide receiver is saying, I don't think we do anything special.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh needs to be fired, and he will be this season.
So that's where I'm going to agree with you, but also slightly shift the blame. I think it's on Nathaniel Hackett. As a former Broncos fan 2 years ago, Nathaniel Hackett should not have a job.
Yeah.
He purely has a job because Aaron Rodgers is besties with him. Yeah. That's point blank period. That's it. Last year, he got all the blame shifted off him because Zach Wilson was his quarterback, but he still wasn't doing anything with Zach Wilson or being creative at all. Now this year, he's already getting hated on week 4 by Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, because he's just not good at his job. So I do believe, honestly, Saleh maybe should get out of there as well. I don't think he's a great coach, but I think if he's going, Hackett needs to go.
Hey, maybe they just clean house and knock them both out.
They should. They
Why
honestly
not
should.
At this
Hackett
point?
should not have a job in the NFL. And honestly, if I'm a college team, I don't want to pick him up either. Hackett is not a good offensive coordinator.
I agree.
And he, rightfully so, got all the blame in Denver. Denver tried to warn the Jets. They didn't listen, and now look where they're at.
Yep.
You agree, Mace?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Now you want to get into your hot take?
I said it before on this show, but Commanders are winning the NFC East.
Okay.
Like for the examples I just said, just Jane Daniels playing lights out right now. I don't see him furthering from that. I know he's just a rookie, but you've seen him play, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not going to. Again, I was knocking him a little bit earlier. He still has looked amazing. I'm saying he might get worse, but if he plays at what he's at right now, they're winning the division. That's not even a question.
Dan Quinn is playing back in his Atlanta Falcons days, or coaching back in his Atlanta Falcons days. And I know that defense is a little spotty, but I think they can definitely fix that, especially with the trade market still open. There's not a lot of big names on there, especially for the secondary, but they'll figure it out for sure. And Brian Robinson Jr.
He's looked good.
And Austin Eckler. That backfield is
Austin Eckler
insane.
hasn't done anything, but Brian Robinson Jr. has looked good.
Austin Eckler for the receiving
I was going to
yards.
say, Eckler surprised me a little bit. I didn't know how he was going to take kind of having to sit on the back burner a little bit. But honestly, he's taking it pretty well. I haven't really heard him being vocal or upset about his role, and he honestly has just taken in that pass blocking, receiving back role like really well.
Oh, and also the revitalization of Scary Terry. Come on.
Hey, someone up here once said he was a top 10 wide receiver in the league, so.
Yeah, shout out Jacob Patterson. We had a debate about 2 weeks ago in the control room because he was saying Scary Terry is potentially top 5. Maybe, but definitely a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
That's crazy. I don't think he's top 10.
I don't think he's top 15.
I think he's top 10.
I don't think he's top 15.
I think he's top 10.
But
Next time we'll run through the list.
Yes, honestly, that next week's show, that's a segment. But for now, for your hot take, I can see where you're coming from. I'm obviously not going to debate it again. I think it's Eagles, maybe Cowboys, but it's not crazy to say with how Jane Daniels been playing, and I think
how the other teams in that division have been playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. If they were in any other division, I wouldn't give them the win, but I see it here. What's your hot take?
Okay,
Connor?
so for my hot take, we're gonna have to go to a graphic real quick. So I shared
it
with both of y'all. I shared it with both of y'all because my hot take's about Anthony Richardson. And my hot take specifically, Anthony Richardson's not a top 15 quarterback, maybe not top 20 in the NFL, and he should be benched for Joe Flacco. Now,
as of right now, I agree with you.
For Exhibit A, let's go to this graphic I shared with y'all, and I'll put it on the screen right now. Anthony Richardson this season, through 3 1/4 games, 654 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 50% completion percentage.
Yeah.
Quarterback on the right, that will be named later, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 68 completion percentage. So obviously the quarterback on the right sucks too. But his stats in every area but passing yards are better than Anthony Richardson. I'm just going to let y'all even try and take a guess at who the guy on the right is, and we'll see. Either way, once he's revealed, y'all will know why I'm saying Anthony Richardson should be benched.
I don't know.
Is that Gardner Minshew?
It's not Gardner Minshew. It's the meme legend himself, Will Levis.
Wow.
That's Will Levis's stats right now. A quarterback that is considered bottom 5 in the league right now has potentially better stats than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, again, has played 3 less quarters of football than Will Levis, but already has the same amount of interceptions, has barely more yards, less touchdowns, has a lower passer rating, and honestly, the scariest part for me, the 50% completion percentage.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, now moving on from Anthony Richardson, though, moving over to Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco in his last 4 games. Now, while the graphic is still up, Anthony Richardson, y'all can see his stats right now. Joe Flacco's last 4 games, 1,400 passing yards in 4 games.
Wow.
9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, though, so he does turn the ball over, 67% completion percentage.
Wow.
That's what you'd rather have as a starting quarterback.
That's doubling Richardson in yards, which is crazy.
Exactly. Tripling him in touchdowns.
Yeah.
And matching him maybe a little bit more in interceptions. So he's a big play guy. He may get you some interceptions, but honestly, right now, they just need some spark.
Yeah.
Like, they have not played good, and they really just need to turn something around. If Richardson is banged up and not 100% even, what's to say he's not going to get injured worse? Joe Flacco should be the quarterback moving forward.
It's just his rushing ability of Anthony Richardson is what they're going off of.
Yeah.
It's what they're setting apart from Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Is his rushing ability, his ability to improvise in the pocket. I think that's why they're choosing him over Joe Flacco. And also Joe Flacco's like, what, almost 40?
He's 39, yeah.
So I think that's also why, but I do agree. Joe Flacco is playing lights out right now.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said, and I think the reason for that is because all of the preseason fantasy hype that was made up to. We had this conversation last week.
Yeah.
People are taking, in fantasy drafts, taking him like 3rd or 4th round. Like, since when did Anthony Richardson become a viable fantasy quarterback? Apparently, the 4 games that he played last year led everyone to believe that he was going to be this Superman of a person, which I'm not counting him out and saying he still can't be, but being a good fantasy quarterback doesn't make you a top 5 quarterback in the league. So.
Well, because he looked like that in those 4 games.
Yeah, but that's 4 games.
And that's how he looked week 1 this year. I mean, he had those great big touchdowns against the Texans, obviously showed his running ability, but just since then, he's been
no one has
atrocious.
seen it from him for a sustained period of time, and that's what makes a good, successful quarterback in this league. They do it over and over and over. Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen. He's not there.
But look what we're doing right now. We're 4 games in. And we're
what do you want us to do?
We're comparing these quarterbacks.
Here's what I was going to say to you, though. Talking about his rushing value. I think it is very, especially now in today's NFL, to have a rushing quarterback is a huge thing to open up your run game. However, I think the Colts are the one team in existence that don't need that. You have Jonathan Taylor back there, who's a top 5 running back, and they currently, by PFF, have the number 1 ranked offensive line. They are the outlier. If there's any team that didn't need a rushing quarterback, it would be them. You have a quarterback in Flacco that can sit in the pocket and not be pressured, and you already have a run game from Jonathan Taylor. So I think if there was one team that didn't need it, it'd be the Colts. Now, however, though, we are going to head to commercial break real quick, and we're going to get into one more segment after the break.
We would design something, it was set on the counter, and people was either, if enough of them said, this isn't it never made to the line. Dad was excited that they're all original. They were all designed on Mom's kitchen table, and it gets in your blood after a while.
We're very happy that Pamela and Michael have taken over the business and kept the family going.
We took the business over in 2017. When we found that it was available, we wanted to keep the legacy of family alive, but it was also incredible products that deserved to be a part of Made in Oklahoma's story. We were a part of Made in Oklahoma years ago, and so it kind of grew as Made in Oklahoma grew.
Oklahoma is ingrained into our everything that we did. We've been here most of our life. That's what we entailed our whole business on, was the Oklahoma homegrown feeling.
Deep Fork Foods started in 2014. We started off with our nut products, and now we produce everything from jarred products to cookie mixes and pancake mixes and dried products for people, as well as our spice blends. Now we produce over 168 different products for ourselves and about 20 to 30 other companies in Oklahoma.
I'm Cindy Stewart. I'm one of the owners of Deep Fork Foods. We've gone from just making our own stuff and doing just small things to being able to co-pack and work with other companies and individuals within Oklahoma and across the United States as well.
I'm just really thankful for the journey that we've had so far and really look forward to the future where we're taking Deep Fork Foods and being able to provide more value for Oklahoma and its economy, as well as all the people within the state.
I love the opportunities that being in the food business provides. I absolutely love sharing food and good stories with people, so this just gives us another connection. And I can't wait to see where this path takes us with it.
Welcome back to We Know Ball. Now we got 2 seconds left. I said 1, but it's 2. We got Hero Zero, and we're going to talk about some Heisman talk. But first off, Hero Zero, we finally had a better week last week. We've been doing really bad the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I went 2 for 2. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Last week didn't get much prettier for you. I went 2 for 2. You went 1-1. You went 0-1-1 again. So you still do not have a win in this segment. So
maybe this week.
I'm actually going to kick it off with you. What is your hero this week? Come on. Get us on the board.
Okay, with the injuries to Rasheed Rice and just
Isaiah Pacheco.
Whole team, yeah. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy as my hero. He's projected 11.4 points, and he's basically the wide receiver 1 there. So I definitely, especially being the deep threat, I definitely see him getting over 11.4 or hopefully 14.4.
Yeah.
I agree. He was one of my options for heroes, actually. But I am going to go with Brock Purdy. The 49ers have had a little bit of a rough start on offense this year just because of injuries, but he now has Deebo Samuel coming back, he has Kittle back, and they're playing Arizona. And Arizona has given up the fourth most fantasy points to quarterback this year. The point total for that game this week is probably going to be crazy. But his projection is only at 19.2. And he scored about like 11 last week, but I think he's going to have a really good week this week, and Brock Purdy's going to far exceed that.
Yeah. Now, for my hero, this is going off a little bit of last segment. And this is assuming Joe Flacco starts, because Anthony Richardson today, again, was limited in practice, so he's trending towards not playing. So I think they will be playing Flacco on Sunday. I'm going Josh Downs. When Josh Downs was in the game, when Flacco was in the game this past Sunday, Josh Downs got a 33% target share. He was actually his favorite target. Yeah. So I really think Downs can step it up. And then also, I'm sorry to our TD Devin, because we keep dogging on the Jags. But Jacksonville, I keep dogging on secondaries too. Jacksonville's a bottom 5 secondary. I've talked about Commanders sucking. I've talked about Lions secondary sucking. The Jags, yeah, he agrees. They're a bottom 5 secondary. So if you get Joe Flacco in there who can sling the ball and obviously loves Josh Downs is my hero.
Yeah, for sure.
So now let's go zeros. Mace, you want to kick it off again?
My zero's going to be Rico Dowell. Playing that Steelers defense.
Yeah.
They're number, 2 in rush defense? Or number 4. And he's projected 10.4 points.
That's actually wild.
He's not going to get in the end zone. So
I think you should just put all of Dallas running game 0.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter
Honestly,
who's
all of
back
Dallas
there.
this week.
Dallas 0.
Yeah. So I can definitely see him getting under 7.4.
Oh,
sure.
totally, for sure. That's like a guarantee at this point.
Yeah.
For my 0, I also have a running back. I have Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm so sorry to the Patriots fan over here, but
you're not wrong.
He's bumbling.
Yeah, he scored 0.3 points 2 weeks ago. He scored 8.2 points last week. He's fumbled every single game, and his own head coach even said that there's a possibility that he gets benched for Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
So
he's a vet.
He's projected at 14.1 this week, which is wild to me. So he's far, I think, cut that in half, cut it a million more times. He's not going to get that.
Yeah. I'm still in debate, so I'm trying to figure out who I want to go with. But I think I'm going to go with Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Brown had an amazing week last week in fantasy. He had almost 20 points. So everyone's going to be really high on him, and you're going to want to plug him in your lineups. I'm telling you right now, do not do that. He's going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who have been elite against the run this year. Obviously, they shut down James Cook to 5 points last week. And in the 2 weeks prior to that, gave up 8.6 to lead running back and 6.8 to lead running back. The most points they've allowed all year to running back was Pacheco in week 1, which was 15.8.
So I'm happy you're finally realizing the Ravens defense can shut down the run. You've been a hater.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm late on the Ravens train. But I'm finally maybe hopping on. Okay. I'm at the train stop. I'm at the train station. I haven't hopped on the train yet, but I'm at the train station. And I think what'll get me onto the train is that they shut down my 0 this week in Chase Brown. So I'm going with Chase Brown as my 0.
All right.
But now, talk about NFL for almost an hour on the show. We quickly have about 5 minutes left. Let's get into some college football. We say we want to talk about it every week, and we always run out of time because we're all yappers. Let's get some college football, specifically the Heisman race. Now, this race right now is electric. Most people know it's a 4-person race right now, basically. It's Ginty, it's Hunter, it's Milroe, it's Ward. Who do y'all got right now of those 4?
I've got Ashton Ginty.
That's who I got too.
Y'all on the same. Usually we're on the same page against him. Now it's y'all 2 against me.
He is crazy. He's what Ollie Gordon, who we thought Ollie Gordon was going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's playing lights out.
Yeah.
I know they haven't played super top teams, but
Oregon.
That's what I was going to say. Oregon, he still had almost 200 yards, right?
Yeah, 200. It was like 180 and 3 touchdowns.
Exactly.
That was a bad game.
That is insane.
Yeah. Did you see his did you all see his line on like betting this week? It's been going on like viral. His prop is 196 yards over under, and it's favored to go over. And his line right now, he is like minus 500 to get a touchdown. It's like minus 200 to get 2 touchdowns, and it's like the 50-50 bet is if he'll score 3 touchdowns. That's how good he is.
He has 13 touchdowns already
in 4 weeks.
The next rusher that has that many touchdowns is 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put a bet down for him. Like 2 weeks ago. His line was 169. He got 267.
Beat it by 100. That is crazy.
All right, so we agree with ours. What's yours, Connor?
So I'm going on a different route. And I'm going, honestly, probably, of the 4, most people's probably 4th. But I've just really loved him this year. I'm going Cam Ward.
I love Cam Ward.
Of Miami. They're 5-0. He's running a good ship at 5-0. He's got almost 1,800 passing yards in 5 weeks. That's almost 400 a game right there, what he's averaging, which is second in the NCAA, only behind Jackson Dart. And he's got 18 total touchdowns, or 18 passing touchdowns, which is first for quarterback. So he's number 2 and number 1 on the 2 most important quarterback stats right now, and he's leading a Miami team to 5-0. That's what I really value right now. I love Milroe, but Milroe's stats aren't that great. He got that really good win. He's got the best win of the season on his resume. But we can maybe credit that to Ryan Williams. But Milroe's stats haven't looked amazing. Obviously, love Travis Hunter. I don't even know how you rank him. He could be 1. It's crazy. But of Ginty and of Ward, those are my top 2. I have to give the slight lean to Ward. And just knowing that it's a quarterback award, unfortunately, it's more likely to probably
That's what, as much as I picked Ginty, he is my pick. If I had to predict who I think they are going to pick, I think it's going to be Cam Ward. They like to give this award to quarterbacks as much as I hope they do give it to Ginty because I think he deserves it. I think it is a quarterback award, and Cam Ward will probably take it.
Yeah. Plus, I can also see, honestly, Miami going undefeated. Like, with Milroe, I feel like they could lose a couple games. Obviously, they've got some tough games on their schedule. And so maybe if you look at the Heisman cases at the end of the season and Milroe's 11-2. Ginty's team didn't make the playoffs. Travis Hunter didn't make the playoffs.
Ginty could get Boise State that G5 spot. Honestly, and if he does, that could boost his Heisman case.
If Ginty gets Boise State to the playoffs and Cam Ward or Milroe aren't undefeated and Travis Hunter doesn't get Colorado to the playoffs, I think it's Ginty's award. Straight up. But if somehow Ward's undefeated, I feel like they have to give it to him. So, well, that's it. That's all we have for the show. We've talked for an hour straight. We finally got some college football on the show. So we'll thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see y'all back next week.
My name's Dennis Abernathy. Lived here since 1968, and I consider myself one of Stillwater's oldest original family jewelers. Here at Dennis the Jeweler, we're more about personal service. My father always told me that anybody can sell the jewelry, and what we're doing is completely different, learning to do the repair work. That is one thing that will keep your business alive, because anybody can sell it, but not anybody can fix it. To me, jewelry is very, very personal. Every piece of jewelry has its own story, and I get to hear hundreds of stories from my clients, which I love to hear. There's always a story with it. I mean, you buy a piece of jewelry for a show of appreciation, a sign of love. There are a lot of different aspects for jewelry when you purchase it.